the 43 race riot, a race riot in 1943. Now there was a race riot in 1863 too, where black people were attacked by people who were upset with Lincoln, the Emancipation Proclamation. And so there's a race riot in 1863, but then there's an even larger one in 1943. 9 whites and 25 black people were killed in this race riot in 1943. Now the 9 whites, it's a race riot. I want to be clear. It's black people fighting white people fighting black people. It is not black and white people working together, looting businesses together. Now, some of that happened in 67, where you got white people and black people looting a business together. You got black businesses being looted by black people in 1967. You got white businesses being looted by white people in 1967. But in 1943, that ain't happening. If you black and you fighting somebody white. And if you white and you fighting somebody black. So the 9 white people who were killed by black people. 7 black people are killed by whites. 1 black person is killed by other black people who think he's white because he's so light-skinned. They confuse him for a white man and they kill him because they think he's white. It's a race war. It's a race riot. The difference in the numbers, why does 25 black people get killed? White residents kill 7 black people. That's almost even. On the streets, it's even. Black people is getting as much as they giving. In fact, they're giving a little bit more than they get. But the police kill 17 black people. Police officers kill no white people. That's the difference. No white people were killed by members of the Detroit Police Department. And the police are rioting too, and they've chosen a side. So after the race riot, the governor and the city both of them create committees to study what happened in Detroit. And both committees, to varying degrees, blame the black folks. The state, that's basically all they do. The city blames black folks primarily, but they also say, oh yeah, but it was some other stuff that happened too besides what the black people did. But overwhelmingly, they blame black people too. A plan to destroy Black Bottom comes out of that. Out of the response to this race riot and black people being blamed for the race riot, the talk begins in the political circles of destroying Black Bottom. In 1944, Edward Jeffries proposes it to the city council to demolish Black Bottom. 1946, the city council approves Jeffries' plan. So they don't do it immediately, but eventually they approve his plan to destroy Black Bottom. The city doesn't have really the money to destroy Black Bottom. So they tear down some structures and they do a little bit here and there, but they don't have the money to destroy Black Bottom. But in 1949, the National Housing Act is passed. National Housing Act of 1949 is passed. And it's basically called the Urban Renewal Act, where the federal government is going to give cities the money to destroy old structures or slums. Once it's passed, the city sends out notices to tell people in Black Bottom, you about to get up out of here. Y'all about to leave. Don't do no improvements on your house, because when we make a bid on your house, when the city comes and says we're gonna pay you for this house, we're not paying for any additions that you put on it. And so the city begins eminent domain, begins taking land by eminent domain, begins buying some of the structures. Almost nobody gets just compensation. Most people don't get what they ought to have gotten. Some people get nothing. Some people actually go in the negative. The city demolishes a home across the street from your house. So you own this house. 20% of the people in Black Bottom are owners, 80% are renters. So the renters don't get a dime. But let's say you're an owner and you own this house or this strip, this building, and the city destroys the houses across the street from you, and the house next to your house, and the house on the other side of your house. Well, guess what you can't get? You can't get nobody to rent from you. You can't get nobody to move in because they see what's happening. And so the city never makes a bid on your house. But you ain't making no money because everything around your house is being destroyed. And so now, as everything is being around your house is being destroyed and you're not making no money, you can't do improvements. You might get a hole in your roof. You might get a broken window and you fix that a few times, and you might get some pipes busted, and you might get this happening. And now the city sends in building inspectors and find out, hey, you out of compliance. Now they want to ticket you. You ain't made no money off this house in years because nobody's moved in years. The city ain't made no offer to buy the house from you. And so now you ain't made no money. So now, guess what you might do? You might tear the house down yourself because you're tired of being ticketed every month by the city building department. You tear it down yourself. And then in a month after you tear it down, the city approaches you to buy your vacant lot. When you had a house there and a structure there, they didn't approach you at all. They destroyed everything around you. And then finally you tear it down because you keep tired of getting ticketed. And then they buy your vacant lot from you. This is what happens. And so there are a number of lawsuits that come out of this. The city loses over and over, but they keep appealing. And the people can't continue to appeal. And the city keep appealing every time you beat them, and you can't sustain the appeal. So almost nobody got just compensation. So even the people who got something didn't get what they should have got. Some people didn't get nothing. Some people ended up in the negative. Working class people, renters are just kicked out. They don't give them anything. They don't get a dime. You just got to be out in 90 days, and that's it. And many of them will leave Detroit. Some of them will go back down south to their family down south. Many of the working class and poor folks will end up in the 12th Dexter Linwood neighborhood, which is where the 1967 uprising will occur. And it's really continuation of the problems that have been going on since the 40s. Those problems never got fixed. And along with that, you destroy Black Bottom and Paradise Valley. You destroy these people's homes and businesses. Black Bottom is destroyed basically in the 50s. And in the middle of the 50s, while Black Bottom is almost gone anyway, the federal government passed the Interstate Highway Act of 1956, where they're going to give cities money to build interstate highways. The mayor is Cobo. He's been the mayor for much of the destruction of Black Bottom anyway. And now he's the mayor where the money is going to come in to build the freeways. And he chooses Hastings Street to build the freeway, which is the main street of former Black Bottom. Black Bottom is mostly gone by this point. And Paradise Valley. And Paradise Valley is suffering because of Black Bottom's destruction. That was their customers. That was their workers. So Paradise Valley is not on the up. It's suffering at this point. And it's going to be put to death by the destruction of Hastings Street. Land is being taken by eminent domain. Most of the African Americans get not just compensation. Even if they own the building, they don't get what they ought to have gotten. In some cases, they own the business, but they don't own the building where the business is housed. In the Black community, we say they own it, but because of racial restrictive covenants and deeds, and because of this unwritten rule, even when there ain't a racial restrictive covenant, there's white folks who just don't want to sell to Black folks. What they're in is land contracts in many cases. And of course, a land contract on paper, you don't own this structure. The city doesn't recognize you as an owner. Now, you have an agreement with the owner that you are the owner as long as you keep paying him every month. But the city only recognizes the owner. So you're in a land contract, and the owner gets compensation by the city, and you get nothing. And so Paradise Valley is destroyed with the building of the I-375 and I-75 freeway, the destruction of Hastings Street. Churches are removed, including New Bethel Baptist Church, where a very famous pastor in Detroit, Reverend Clarence LaVon Franklin, is preaching. He is forced to move on to Linwood and Philadelphia. He buys a theater there to move his church. His daughter, who used to sing in the choir on Hastings, Aretha Franklin, is now a very popular singer by 1963 when they're forced to move. Hastings Street is destroyed. Churches, businesses, restaurants, stores, hotels, nightclubs, bars are destroyed and removed. The street itself is removed and the freeway replaces it. A significant number of African Americans have some businesses north of that old Paradise Valley in the neighborhood that was known as Sugar Hill, or some people called it the northern section of Paradise Valley. So that's where the Gotham Hotel is. That's where the Flame Show Bar is. That's where the Mark Twain Hotel owned by Sonny Wilson is. The Randora Hotel, the Carver Hotel, they're in that neighborhood. And in 1963, a new urban renewal program starts. The expansion of the Detroit Medical Center. It's going to destroy this last vestige of this Black business district as Harper, Hutzel, Children's, Detroit Receiving, Wayne State University Medical School, as they expand into that area, it wipes out the Flame Show Bar, the Mark Twain, Garfield, all of those hotels, restaurants, clubs that were in that area get destroyed from the expansion of the Detroit Medical Center. The Gotham is torn down in 1963 while its owner, John White, is awaiting trial for gambling. Flame show bars destroyed and a parking lot is created in this place. And so we lose that last section of that history because of the expansion of the Detroit Medical Center. Now, the Gotham Hotel sat at John R. and Orchestra Place over 50 years later. And the Detroit Medical Center has never expanded to that spot. It is still a big empty spot to this day. So it was destroyed because the Detroit Medical Center was supposed to expand. Detroit Medical Center ain't never expanded there. We can't go see this 5-star Black-owned hotel and be inspired to do something because allegedly it was destroyed. This changes the city of Detroit forever. And it is one of the factors, not the only factor, but the destruction of Black Bottom, Paradise Valley, and Sugar Hill are one of the factors of the uprising in 1967. 1967 rebellion is that's woven into that. Because these are people who came from that area, lost everything, and now they're on 12 Dexter and Linwood, and they are going to blow up on July 23rd, 1967.